many times have you been told to stay positive? Think happy thoughts, focus on good vibes only. But instead of helping, it sometimes makes you feel worse and it makes you feel guilty for not being okay. Here's the truth I want you to know, okay? Forced positivity can actually increase emotional pressure and make anxiety and low mood harder to manage. Hi, I'm Cheryl and I'm the owner of Your Time to Shine Therapy. I'm a therapist who works with people struggling with anxiety, struggling with the low mood and emotional overwhelm. If you've ever felt guilty for not being happy, tried to think positive but still felt low or anxious, hidden how you really feel because it didn't seem acceptable, then I want you to know that, again, you are not alone. In this video, I'm going to explain why toxic positivity can actually harm your mental health, what's happening underneath that, and how acknowledging your emotions creates real balance and relief. By the end, you'll understand why feeling your emotions and not suppressing them is what actually helps you to heal. Positivity itself isn't the problem. The issue is when positivity becomes a pressure and you don't want it to be this pressure that seems to be pushing down on you. So phrases like just stay positive, look on the bright side, good vibes only, they mean absolutely nothing, especially if you're feeling the way that you feel. And these sentences can unintentionally send the message that your negative emotions are not acceptable, and that is just rubbish. So instead of us feeling supported, you start to feel like guilty, you feel this guilt for being upset about something. You wear a cloak of shame for feeling anxiety and having a low mood. And you feel the pressure to hide what is really going on inside you. And all these things create internal conflict because your emotions don't disappear just because you've pushed them away. They don't suddenly melt away or anything, they stay right where they are. If you suppress emotions in the name of positivity, your brain often responds with more intensity because emotions are signals. They aren't problems that you erase. So what tends to happen is sadness gets pushed right down, but it lingers for longer. Anxiety gets ignored, but it grows and it gets bigger and bigger and stronger. Anger gets suppressed and that turns into tension or burnout. And underneath all of that, another layer starts to build, and that layer is self-judgment. And oh boy, does that layer start to make you feel really crappy. You might think things like, why can't I just be positive? What is wrong with me? There must be something wrong with me if I'm always feeling like this. And that's where toxic positivity becomes really harmful. It doesn't just ignore emotions, it can make you start to blame yourself for having them emotions in the first place. And that is really not a place you want to be. Over time, constantly forcing positivity can lead to emotional numbness. It can lead to difficulty identifying how you actually feel. And it can make you feel disconnected from yourself. And it also increases anxiety or burnout. Because at the end of the day, we need to feel all these different emotions, because if we don't, How do we know what type of a mood we're in? Our system learns that only certain emotions are safe to feel. And it's safe to feel all emotions. It's just how we deal with those emotions, that gets us through that period in time. Real mental health isn't about feeling good all the time. We're human beings at the end of the day, and we're not programmed to feel fabulous on top of the world all the time. But it's about being able to feel everything without having any fear or shame or judgment. When emotions are dismissed, or you bury them, or you put them in a box, they don't disappear. It's not like you've got a magic wand and you can poof and it'll go away. They build underneath that surface. And when it starts to build, it's a bit like a pressure cooker. Eventually it's going to go boom. And that's not what you want. In therapy, we take a different approach. Instead of forcing positivity, we focus on acknowledging what's actually there. So looking at what's going on. And this might include things like naming your emotion without any judgment, allowing space for different feelings without rushing, to fix them. They don't all have to be fixed. So why do we always rush to do that? We look at understanding what your emotions are communicating to you, what are they trying to tell you? And we learn how to regulate and not suppress what you're feeling. Because when emotions are acknowledged, something starts to shift. The intensity starts to reduce, the pressure starts to drop, and the clarity begins to return. Clients will often say to me, I didn't realise how much lighter I'd feel just by allowing myself to feel that emotion. If this resonates with you, then I want you to try something today. Instead of forcing positivity, ask yourself this question: what am I actually feeling right now? I don't want you to put any judgment on it. I don't want you to look at fixing it. I just want you to look at the awareness of it. And if you want any support working through emotional overwhelm and learning how to handle feelings in a healthier way, I work with clients on a one-to-one basis, where we process emotions safely, we reduce anxiety and overwhelm, we build emotional awareness and regulation, and we restore balance and mental clarity. Subscribe for more videos on anxiety, emotional health, and the real psychological strategies that actually work. And in the comments, let me know, have you ever felt pressure to stay positive when you really aren't okay? I do read every comment and I will give you some tips on how to deal with that. So thank you for watching. Thanks for being here, and I shall see you all again soon. Bye for now.